Welcome back to Titan Academy. Today we are going to talk about one of the most important elements in Titan Forms 2.0, and that is the form element. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the layout and the structure of the form element. We'll first cover how you can add a row or column to your form and how you can merge the columns within a specific row. We'll talk about how to align the elements inside a form as well as how to space these elements out. We will talk about naming your rows, and finally we'll talk about what happens to your form when we move to smaller devices. To add a form, click on the plus icon, go to the form subheader, select this option, form, and drag it onto the layout. Here you can set the number of columns, the number of rows, or the row spacing. You can also change all of these things after the form has been inserted. After you've inserted the form, if you want to add columns or rows, all you need to do is click on either of these two little plus logos. That adds a column. This one will add a row. You can also do that by clicking on the three little dots to the right of a cell and selecting add row before, add row after. You can also delete rows from within this menu. When a row is deleted, the entire row will be deleted along with all of its content. Next, let's talk about merging. Let's say I have some elements added here. I'll add a button in one row. Let's add a text field in another column. I'll make this a little bit bigger so that the button fits. There we go. Now let's say I wanted to merge some of these cells in the first row. I'll go ahead and click on the three dots. Select the merge option. Let's pick merge all. That merges all three of those cells in the first row. And we can center the button like this. You can also do a custom merge where you merge some of the columns and not all of them. Let's say we want to merge column A and column B on this last row. Select our three dots, go to merge, go to custom merge, and we will merge 1 and 2. Hit apply. Now that text field has been enlarged. If you want to undo those, just go back to the three dots, go to merge, go to split, and they are all reverted to their original form. If you want to align an element within a form, go ahead and select it. What you can't do is drag it to position it. You must use the alignment tool on the toolbar. Here we have it aligned center. We can align it left. We can align it right, like that, or centered. Now let's take a look at the gaps between the rows. I'll add a couple more rows here just to make this a little more clear. Notice how when we add elements, there is a little bit of space between the element and the border of that row. This is the default 10 pixel space between each of our rows that we set when we added the form. If you want to change that, come to the form styling, go to the styling menu, select form, spacing, and adjust your spacing accordingly. Let's make it 30 pixels. Notice how that adjusts the spacing between the rows on the form, like so. And as you can see, since we made that spacing 30 pixels, the column, the cell is a little bit taller than these text fields and other elements that we've added. Again, we want to adjust that. Select the form, styling, spacing. Next, I'll talk about how you can rename your rows. So let's go ahead and take a look at the form in the layer list, which is accessible from the view menu, show layer list. And as you can see, the default names given to rows are sequential numbers like row 1, row 2, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 3 we deleted. This can get a little confusing if you need to refer to a row in any kind of logic or action rule within Titan. You can rename the row to make its purpose a little more obvious. In order to do that, click on the three dots, simply select rename, and instead of that being row 1, we'll call this row button. And let's rename this one row email. Notice how that changes the unique names by which these rows can be referenced in other Titan logic. Finally, let's take a look at how our form looks on different devices and device layouts. We are right now looking at the desktop layout. If we look at something such as the laptop layout, it looks very similar, although they're just a little bit smaller. Same thing with the tablet large. This is because those screen size differences aren't that significant. However, if you look at something like a mobile device, and we choose an auto layout, notice how everything is condensed into a single column. Some additional rows seem to be added in between. That's just everything being moved. And your form appears like this. This can be adjusted. We will cover this in different videos in more detail. But it is important to understand that when you move to a smaller device, like a mobile device, everything will end up in a single column. And that is how it's done.